The Washington football team, now known as the Commanders, they just recently changed the name, I believe it was last week, but they're having a hard time getting rid of this image and their background, things that they were doing, sexist things, harassment things. Well, some folks were testifying about those things to Congress just last week, so let's watch some of those allegations fly.
6 former employees joining House lawmakers for a roundtable on toxic workplace culture, making new accusations of inappropriate behavior by team owner Dan Snyder.
I learned that placing me strategically by the owner at a work dinner after this networking event was not for me to discuss business, but to allow him, Dan Snyder, to place his hand on my thigh under the table.
So that was Tiffany Johnston. She's a former cheerleader and also marketing manager for the team. And that wasn't all. Let's look at some more of those details that she was pointing out. She removed his hand, this is from NPR. She removed his hand, but after dinner, there was more. With his hand now on her lower back, Johnston said Snyder pushed her aggressively toward his limo, encouraged her to ride with him to her car. He only relented when his lawyer stepped in. The following day, she was warned by a senior colleague not to tell anyone about it. Do they think these are 10-year-old kids that they're kidnapping and don't tell anyone about it? Because that's horrible enough, but now you should tell adults this same thing. So continuing on with that, in case you don't believe this woman who went through her experiences, there's a former video production manager. His name is Brad Baker, and he also testified about things that he saw that was going on with their video production. Let's watch.
I saw several images on both the editing monitor and the monitor of our tape deck that featured the cheerleaders posing for their photo shoot, but it was like outtakes, and their breasts and pubic areas were exposed. It became crystal clear that my worst suspicions were true. The video department had been told to edit together lewd footage of the cheerleaders at the request of Dan Snyder.
Continues on that way. So also from CBS Sports, some more details on that particular instance. Another employee, Melanie Coburn, corroborated Baker's allegation that you guys just heard there. She said the video was secretly made as, quote, essentially a soft porn video and soundtracked to Dan Snyder's favorite bands. Also, Coburn has alleged that soon after starting her marketing role, she was invited to sleep at Snyder's home in Aspen, Colorado after a drunken awards trip dinner. Except she was asked to stay in the basement because the men had invited prostitutes back, David.
Dan Snyder is a sick man. He's sick, never mind, I mean, how terribly he's run the Washington football team, the Commanders. He's sick not only in terms of his inability to find personnel and coaches and general managers and all that to have a winning team, but I mean, the culture of what had been the Washington Redskins and now the Washington Commanders, it has been bad for so long. Literally, everybody who knows Dan Snyder or knows anything about the Redskins knows that this has been a horrific, punitive culture for years. Prostitutes, trying to get pictures of the cheerleaders naked, all that kind of stuff. That is, I mean, that's what people have been whispering about in Washington, D.C. for a long time. And I'm glad, courage to all those people who are stepping forward and coming out and saying this. Now the ball it's in the court of Roger Goodell and the NFL. Are they really gonna do something or are they just gonna ignore it?
Well, I think it maybe depends on whether or not they find something else with other teams. If this is a culture that's happened with other teams, which, I mean, we can assume that there's no facts yet on that. But if this has been a culture from one particular team, why wouldn't it spread to other folks or other folks that maybe knew it that didn't want to bring this up for whatever reasons that is? That's part of facilitating it, is not bringing these things up, which is why it's courageous for people to come forward like this, because that's risking their careers. Now, Dan Snyder did have a denial. I was gonna say an explanation, but a denial here. So this is what he said about this from his statement he put out. While past conduct at the team was unacceptable, the allegations leveled against me personally in today's roundtable, many of which are well over 13 years old, because that makes a difference, are outright lies. I unequivocally deny having participated in any such conduct at any time and with respect to any person. So we'll find out. I'm not the judge and the jury, but we'll find out, because if these things did happen, this is crossing over into criminal activity, obviously. Not just, hey, this guy's running this team in a horrible way and telling people to cover these things up. Now, maybe the reason he's puts out statements like that is because we're looking for what the NFL might do for this, and it really isn't all that thorough, their investigations. So really quickly, documents released by the US House of Representatives Committee on Oversight and Reform raised questions about whether the NFL's investigation into the Washington Commanders was truly independent. Because it revealed that not only did Washington agree to a written report being created of lawyer Beth Wilkinson's findings and recommendations, but the league would not be able to release the findings without permission of franchise owner Daniel Snyder.
I had a friend, Jayar, a couple of years ago, many years ago actually, a major media figure in Washington who I worked for, who was invited to go to Dan Snyder's yacht off the coast of Italy or wherever it is, where all these billionaires got together. And basically all they did is said, look at my yacht. No, look at my yacht. No, look at, it was like this competition between these incredibly egocentric men as to who had the bigger yacht. I mean, talk about how shallow and like lack of sophistication and lack of class. But that's the reputation that Dan Snyder has had for a long time.
Well, we'll see if anything changes with that. The spotlight is now on it again. Maybe this timing of this happened right around when more attention is paid to NFL and the Super Bowl. We'll see. I mean, attention was paid to this before, and hopefully things have begun to change behind the scenes, but we'll see.